morning, everybody. Again with Thierry from Curaçao today for episode number 13 already. We're still in the pandemic, we're still in the COVID lockdown on Curaçao. Now is beginning of week 5 and probably is gonna end around the 3rd of May, but no certainty about that, but we'll see. But today the subject is something I told you already a little bit about, is buying or renting a house or eventually an apartment on Curaçao. I'm going to talk about the different aspects, but mostly we go for buying a house as a foreigner because we are in Belgium, so it's not that easy to buy a house. You have to do a lot of things, but I try to make it clear for you, and so you can see what you can do. Okay, but I'll see you with more details. Well, today we are going to talk about buying, renting, actually living on Curaçao. I think the first point you have to be clear in your head is actually what are your motives to come here and to buy something. I think the motives of being an inhabitant on an island, you have different possibilities. You have people who come from abroad and begin a business and they want to stay here for a few years. So normally that's the best buy you can do. If you intend to stay only for 1 or 2 years, your perspective is quite different. You have people from the Marine or for the Army. They have a contract for 3 years and then they can prolong for 1 year. So then they're not gonna buy something because it lasts actually a bit of time to sell your stuff here. Especially now, last year, it's nearly impossible because we have no tourists, we have no visitors. So nobody is really interested in visiting your house because they just can't arrive here. So I talked about the Marine, etc. So those people are more renting. Also people coming from Holland with a contract for teachers. They also have a contract for 3 years plus 1 year optionally. That's already the main idea. What are you going to do here? Or do you want only a house to have a return of investment? That's also possible, investors. And then people from Holland come here 6 months and live here, but after 6 months they leave and somebody else is renting the house for the 6 other months of the year. So that's the global image you have to keep in mind. So the second part of this episode 13 is actually where to buy. When we arrived 15 years ago, there were, let's say 10, maybe 12 real estate agents, agencies, companies here on the island. It was not too big, but it was quite serious. But through the years we saw a change in that, and a lot of people began to do it like a hobby, you know, like they can earn a bit of money, because normally when you pay your agency you pay 4% fee to the agency when they do all the stuff for you. I would say for a foreigner as we are, a lot of people, it's better to do it like that because there are so many papers you don't know about. It's better to spend those 4% to do the homework by themselves, and sometimes you just have to look how it's running. But where to buy, where to sell actually, it's better, that's my idea, it's better to do it with an agency because you have a lot of people around, running around, and yeah, it's question of trust, you know. And the last period I saw quite a bit of difference through social media. You have a lot of people who didn't have a website, for example, and they just advertise for house for sale or house for rent just via Facebook, and then you take contact. But I don't know how it's going to end at the end, because yeah, I don't think it's quite serious. But that's just my idea, of course. It's personal advice. Another important aspect when you want to buy here on Curaçao is, of course, try to get here and do it on the spot. You know, you see, for example, a house for sale, look at the neighborhood, go in that neighborhood, drive around. It's more a kind of feeling, you know. You don't ever see what's around. High tension masts, we don't have a lot here on the island, so that's not really a problem. But if you have, for example, a garage, auto mechanic near you, probably you will prefer to go elsewhere on the island. But it depends also on different factors. Where is your job situated? What are you doing for a living? Is the main road not too far? Is it not too crowded in the morning or in the evening? Also have a sight on the facilities like the supermarket, pharmacy, etc. So it depends, you know. People renting, for example, accommodations could go more north side because the beaches are in the neighborhood. But they mostly forget when they have to make some shopping, they have to drive 35 kilometers to come back in town and get their shopping. So that's something you have to watch also, where you're going to do it and what's your purpose to go and live over there. That's mainly important. A perfect location, I think, doesn't really exist, because there are always advantages and disadvantages, but I think you can easily find a nice place. You have Willemstad, and then you have what they call Bandabau is to the north coast, and Bandariba is actually more the south coast, east coast, where we are living with our bed and breakfast. That's the main these are the main points you have to watch to choose your house. As I told you a bit earlier, where can you find these homes? I think when you introduce in your computer, in your Google search engine, for example, real estate Curaçao, you got to go in through a list of agencies and real estate agents. Most of those on the internet are the bigger ones. That's an idea you have to maintain. Mostly they are quite up to date, but the only thing you're going to see, one or two have a lot of houses already sold. That's of course a tactic they have. So if they have 50 houses for sale and 40 are already sold, you could say, oh, that's a good company, is selling a lot, it's good, they have experience. Maybe, but on the other side, when you watch and you look for a house for sale, you want to have choice. And then you could say, out of the 50, there are only 10 for sale. That's not a good choice. That's not enough. Then you have to determine your budget. There are some companies who work, I would say, in low budget, 200,000 or 300,000 guilders. That's about 150,000 euros. You have other ones who turn around the 500, it's 250,000 euros approximately. Then you have those going to 600,000 to 1 million, so it's about 300,000 to 500,000 euro. And then those above, there are not that many, you can imagine, But there are houses here in Curaçao for sale for 2, 3, 4 millions of euros. Euros, you hear well, because they are situated on the Spanish water, and that's very expensive on that side. So when you find them on the internet, let's say it's a good one. When you get it through private messenger, it's more a hobbyist. Then you have those new kind of real agents. They are working with ads on Facebook, but without a website. So mostly it's quite, I don't trust it fully, because you don't know what service you're gonna get for that. That's the most, the ways you're gonna find them and find your house for the future. Also, possibility is, of course, buying a ground and put your own house new. I would say not a lot of people begin with that, but there are, the last 2-3 years, a lot of projects starting here in Curaçao, building, I'd say, 5 to 10 or 15 houses, mostly not too big, small grounds, 3-4 acres. That's about 300 to 500 square meters. That's small. What we don't do a lot here in Curaçao is putting a fence between the neighbors. So when you put a fence, that's a good choice when you have dogs, for example. Don't forget, we don't have a minimum space between the house, the side wall, I would say, from the house, and the fence and your neighbor. So sometimes you're gonna see some stuff like 1 meter space between the fence and your wall, and the same meter on the other side. So it's quite close to the neighbor. Especially when you build, you don't know how it's gonna be on your neighbor's side for the same price. I would say you have your kitchen window or your bathroom window just opposite the neighbor's is the bedroom, for example. So that's not that interesting. When you go and you search for other grounds more individually, you could get some bigger ones. How closer to the water and how more to the north side, touristic sides, how more expensive they are, but they are also in south some neighborhoods like Yantil, Yansofat, Spanish Water, which are expensive also. When I say expensive, like 5 acres would be something like 80 to 100,000 euros. That's quite expensive. Then to build a house, something small would be something like 350,000 guilders. So you're easily at 300,000 or 400,000 euros when you build by your own. Of course, that depends on the size you want to put. As always, when you buy a house, you try to get a house with everything in it, with everything on it, everything is okay. Most of the houses, especially if you go to Emmastadt or Julianadorp or so, are houses from the Shell time, the Shell from the refinery. So these houses are nearly 40-50 years old. So the very important thing also when you buy a house, you try to find a house which is complete, which is okay, no transformation. You want everything in a house, but don't expect that too much, because there's always something to do in a house, transform, make it your own mind, your own size. And that's important also when you buy something, because if you look, for example, in Julianadorp or Emmastadt, you have a lot of historical houses. They are Shell houses, so they were built for the directors from the Shell refinery, but they're all 40-50 years old. So they contain a lot of historical initial elements, and yeah, that's something nice, but not everybody likes that. So they are expensive. They have big grounds around, but they are close to the refinery. So that's a neighborhood, for example. If you go to Yantil and Sofat, these houses are recent. They are close to the seaside, but that makes the neighborhood expensive also. You know, there's one road leading to that side of the island. Every morning, every noon, every evening, you have a queue because a lot of people live over there and just go and work in Willemstad. So when you buy something, you have to choose your neighborhood, as I said before, also depending on your activity. Something you surely do when you want to buy a house is actually making like a checklist, you know, like I need a balcony at the first floor, I need a fence for the dogs, I need everywhere air conditioning, it has to be close to the supermarket, it has to be close to the school for the kids, the beach has to be walking distance, etc. So these are all parameters you need to put up before beginning. Of course, when you don't know the island, you're gonna see some are a bit difficult to add to your list because it's not that evident to get a house at the seaside and which is affordable. For example, putting a fence for the dogs, yeah, maybe, but you know, it depends also on your neighbor. Does he want to? Does he not want to? Does he like dogs? Etc. So it's very important you have a clear idea. But when you come from Europe, for example, there are a few things you don't know. You have to have a check of the house, for example. In which states are the air conditioning devices? Is there wind? Do we have problems when it's flooding? A lot of water. Is the house a bit higher built or is it lower in a hole? You know, these are all factors. You mostly see the good side of Curaçao with good weather, nice weather, whole year through. But when we have bad weather, sometimes you can have surprises. So, well, we're arriving at the end of episode 13 about buying a house. I think also something very important is when you talk about the price, just intend to buy a part officially and a part, you know, for the owner separately. It's quite interesting to do it like that. Your fee is lower also when you get registered. And something I would advise also, prepare your visit to the island. Prepare also a visit to a few houses with some local agencies. And don't do too much, you know, and especially not at the end of your holidays. Because we have a lot of tourists, the few last days they try to get some visits of houses, but that's not the right way to do it. Let's say plan 2 or 3 houses, talk a lot with the people, and you'll see it's nice and it's fun to do. For the rest, I would say I'll see you in the next episode. Probably I didn't talk about everything interesting for you. But if you have questions, let me know that in the comments below the video on YouTube. Like, share, and don't forget to subscribe our channel. It's very important for us. I'll see you in the next episode, and that will be next episode 14. And stay safe, and especially see you next time. Bye bye. See you.